I am here, and so is All Might. What's up? It's Truth Hero, and welcome back to another My Hero Academia chapter review. Haven't said that in a while. So Boku no Hero Academia chapter 386 of the manga. There's really two main things here. Dabi the ticking time bomb, and All Might shows up for one final last stand. Let's dive in. Our chapter opens with the crew handling UA's technology and structure, talking about how Dabi now puts not just the heroes in danger, but all the evacuees and citizens. From the moment we thought he was defeated, when a little spark appeared in his body, up until now, he's been compressing thermal energy. And at any moment, Dabi could just go nuclear. Okay. Tsukauchi is informed that the blast radius from Dabi's potential explosion would be 5 kilometers. Now, he's right in between Shiketsu and UA. I have a feeling he can't take out both schools at the same time, but the problem is that some of the evacuation blocks, entire neighborhoods of people that UA has evacuated and put underground, are right below Dabi in Gunga City. They're ground zero. I know, stopping All for One from reaching Shigaraki is priority number uno, but with Dabi's body burning away and just flaking off, I don't think he can hold that energy in for the 10 minutes they predict he'll last. He could blow at any second. So Tsukauchi and everyone at UA, they need a plan. Also, poor Tsukauchi. I mean, this humble investigator and policeman. He's like the guy in Batman. He's not doing anything, alright? He's in way over his head. He and his crew realize that there's not a hero around that can stop Dabi. Or is there? We then flash over to Shoto. Iida is helping him stand up after his battle with Touya, and he's remarking on just how kind and genuine a person Shoto is. Having to fight his long-lost brother, someone who inspired Iida to become the person he wants to be? Why must Shoto go through so much? Normally we view Iida as the leader of Class 1A in terms of academics and morale, but recently that's changed with Deku leaving and coming back to UA. It's nice to see where Iida actually gets his strength, however, from Shoto, who's sort of silently had to bear the burden of everything. Just as Iida is having this nice moment, All Might finally gets into contact with him and Shoto, calls them and says, yeah, you guys need to go stop Dabi's explosive power. We need Icy Hot and Fast Boy on this stat. Shoto perhaps has had the worst week of his life in the past couple of days, and now All Might's like, yeah, you need to go get back out there, bucko, and go confront your brother. Again. Like, again. Keep doing it. Shoto questions what they will do about All for One, who is getting ever closer to Shigaraki, and All Might says, don't worry about it. A powerful ally will meet him soon. Just stop Touya, reassure everyone, and become the ideal version of yourself, young Shoto. This is such a great moment between All Might and Shoto and Iida here because they all know what's happening, right? You don't have to deny it. All Might says, don't worry about All for One. There's a powerful ally that will intercept him. You just focus on defeating Touya. Shoto and Iida know there's no other hero that's showing up. It's All Might. It's one of those movie moments where a character lies to the other characters and everyone knows it, but they don't question it because it's for a noble cause. They're bleeding, they're wounded, right? And they say, I'll be fine, you go on ahead. And they know that that character is going to die. Iida actually says something really interesting here. He says, my legs were meant to guide lost children. Now, with the exception of Tenko, Shigaraki, I don't think there's any more lost child in My Hero Academia than little Touya Todoroki. So is it possible that Iida and Shoto will find a way to guide little Touya, good old Dabi, back to the light and actually save him? Comment down below, do you think Shoto and Iida will actually save Touya Todoroki? And I'm not just asking this from a sentimental point of view, like yeah, it'd be nice if Shoto could finally hug his brother Touya on the battlefield after he saves him. No, Iida and Shoto actually might be forced to save Touya Todoroki in order to stop the blast. Think about this, if Iida and Shoto just dive head first and go all out and destroy Touya Todoroki, defeat him but destroy his body, that doesn't necessarily nullify the energy he's been storing up. If you crumble his body, I feel like the energy is just going to release. So Shoto might have to put some deep freeze on him. But this might allow them to actually negate his flames and allow the energy to dissipate, thereby nullifying him and perhaps nullifying his quirk, because his body will pretty much be gone at this point. And maybe Shoto will be able to spend a few minutes with his brother, unencumbered by, violence. But it's an interesting question. They might actually have to take it easy on Touya because he's so fragile right now and storing so much energy. Let me know what you think. We briefly see Stain and he mutters, altruism. Now, I wish I knew who he was referring to, who he was looking at from this building here. It wasn't really clear to me, but perhaps you know, so let me know down below in the comments. But even if Stain is referring to Iida and Shoto, I feel that this comment is more directed towards All Might and his situation. Because All Might is about to become very altruistic. One might even say selfless, self-sacrificing. As All Might understands it, Hawks has a report on All for One which states the younger he becomes, the more powerful he becomes, yet the more erratic he becomes, the more prone to negative emotion he is. Much like how when you're in your 20s, you're more erratic than when you're in your 40s, hopefully. As he's dematuring, that's also wearing on his mind, and this is of course why Shigaraki's childish, desperate hatred now seems to be seeping into his mind and clouding his judgment. Finally, All Might arrives where All for One is headed. He looks up at All for One, asking, "How many times have we fought? Your hatred grows, All for One. You can no longer ignore me." Why? Because I am here. I am here. Oof. Guys, I know it's sad to think about, but this could be the very last "I am here" we see from All Might in My Hero Academia. Who could have predicted this? Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Not me.
That in this chapter, we'd get such a callback, right? And the moment where All for One comes into contact with All Might once again, I think we secretly knew that would happen. As soon as All for One busted out of Tartarus, and especially when he turned younger and could actually move around, we knew that All Might would try to do something to stop him. He's just too good. He sees it as his duty, and now it's happening. Tsukauchi warns All Might, "Hey, what are you doing? You don't have a quirk." And All Might asks, "Even without a quirk, can I still be a hero?" Oh, talk about callbacks. I mean, that's bringing us back to episode 1. That's the callback to all callbacks. All Might Toshinori really in his school uniform looking at Deku. That's an amazing moment. But I do think there's a reason for this. And if it's not obvious already, Horikoshi is setting us up for All Might's death. Now, I'm going to talk about that in a second, but first I'd like to pose a question. Can All Might defeat All for One? Or at least give him a good fight? Now, All Might is not dumb, and in fact, in that first episode when Deku poses that question, I think All Might actually says no, Yes, it's funny, but All Might understands that you're at a huge disadvantage if you don't have a quirk, and especially if you're fighting All for One. So All Might has a plan here. He has this mechanized suit, whatever this support item is, he's putting something on his arm, something's going onto his back. I hope it's sort of a mechanical suit that allows All Might to use what embers he has left of One for All to do some damage on All for One. Now, All Might actually has 2 advantages here. One, there's of course the Benjamin Button singularity syndrome that All for One is suffering from due to Ares' quirk, and how that works. He's literally rewinding, so he has a set amount of time before he turns to dust, right? But the second thing is, of course, as All For One is getting younger, he's more prone to negative emotion. What if All Might, instead of trying to fight All For One, just distracts him? All For One is so hellbent on revenge against the one person he could not defeat, fueled by Shigaraki's hatred, of course, that being All Might. So all Might has to do really is run out the clock on All For One. Granted, that's not an easy task, and it will take a considerable amount of time. But maybe All Might can run out the clock on All For One until he turns into, an 8-year-old and his body can't handle the quirks, or until another hero shows up that can help All Might and put All For One in check. But what do you guys think? What will All Might do against the Demon King? Now, as much as I'd really love to see that happen, see All Might kick All For One's tush, and it'd be really funny to see All For One as a 5-year-old, that's not going to happen. I do believe that this is All Might's last stand, and he will suffer the ultimate fate here. And that's due to 2 reasons. The first one is Horikoshi. This has been the author's plan since the very beginning, and credit where credit is due. This is death done right. It would have been so easy to have All Might retire and be a guidance counselor and teacher at UA for the next 40 years and say, oh, Deku and Class 1A and Class 1B and Shiketsu and all these teenagers, they can go save the world. They can handle Shigaraki and All For One. I'm just gonna kick back. But no, that's never been All Might's MO throughout the entire series. He's always felt a need to help. From the very beginning, we see him sort of losing his power because he's doing too much. He's not leaving it to the other heroes that are more than capable. And like we saw during the last season, he felt guilty for not helping Deku when Deku was alone and on his own away from UA. He still feels guilt over that. He feels that even though he doesn't have a quirk and even though he's done so much for society, he still needs to give. He still needs to help. And of course, there's guilt over the fact that he didn't finish All For One off when he had the chance. So yes, All Might will die trying to help people. The second reason is actually the hero killer Stain. We know All Might met with Stain and said something. I don't know if that was truly fleshed out. And then we see at the end of the last season, All Might has come upon the statue and there's the girl kind of cleaning the vandalism, and Stain's, puts a blade to his neck and says, really, what has become of you, hero? What, you lose your quirk and all of a sudden you're not All Might anymore? You can't help people anymore? And this was really a moment of growth for All Might because he's thrown back into being Toshinori, who didn't have a quirk and wanted to help people so bad. He's thrown back into what Deku experienced, right? The kid that just charges head into something because he wants to help, not because he's powerful. So All Might sort of has to relive this and realize, even without a quirk, there's still so much you can do. He tried to cook for Deku when Deku was on his own, and he tried to do so much. Now he finally has the opportunity to not only help people, but to try and rectify his guilt over not defeating All For One in the first place. And this is proven when Stain in this chapter looks on, what I believe to be looking at All Might, and says, altruism. Because this is Stain realizing All Might is back. All Might is going to help people. But it's also Stain appreciating All Might and sort of revering him and saying, I probably couldn't do that. I don't think any other hero could do that, and that's why All Might is All Might. Stain knows, All Might knows, and I'm willing to bet Shoto and Iida probably have an inkling that All Might is marching to his death against All For One. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Comment down below, what is All Might's ultimate fate? And if you guys like My Hero Academia content and these chapter reviews, consider enrolling at UA today by subscribing. Thanks for watching, and until next time, plus ultra. Okay, little update here. Yes, I'm back. I made a chapter review. How rare is that? But due to my work schedule, I work sort of mornings to late afternoon, and then I work again in the evening. It's obviously really hard to be up on the latest chapters and spoiler releases and anime news, which I would love to be, but that's sort of a full-time job in and of itself. So I can't make promises that I'll be consistent in these chapter reviews. I'd like to, I'd like to make one a week if a chapter comes out. I'd also like to do other manga like Jujutsu Kaisen, which I gotta read. But my schedule can kind of change too. It's just the nature of my job. So what I'd ultimately like to do in this channel is cover anime and manga when I can, meaning the chapters and spoilers and sort of, theories as they pop up in relation to what the latest episode or chapter is. But I'd like to move to more long form content in addition to that when I can, because that allows me to have, to record it when I have the freedom to. I don't have to release it by a certain time and worry about the algorithm picking it up because it's a recent manga chapter. I don't have to sort of write a script right away and that type of thing. I've also, for a long time, wanted to make more in-depth content. I think some of my best videos have always been, character theories and philosophies, and those have always been the ones that I've enjoyed making the most. Don't get me wrong, I do like covering My Hero Academia chapters, and I was doing Black Clover, and of course, Shield Hero and stuff, but I think having the freedom to record when I want, to edit at my own pace and not have to feel like I'm pushing up against a deadline or have to, stay up till 4 a.m. Recording a video just to get it out the next day. I used to do that, but I don't think I can sustain that here just with, my schedule today. So I hope that you guys will stick around and support, future content that's more long form and in depth. I'm also considering making a different channel about my daily life outside of YouTube. But of course, I will try to continue covering My Hero Academia for sure. Maybe some other manga and the chapters, but just know that that's why I haven't been uploading in a while. I can't be consistent with my work schedule. I do also work more than 40 hours usually, so it is what it is. But if you guys, like this content, give it a share. I thank everyone that's sort of stuck with me, when I'm not uploading. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's my update. So hopefully I'll have more videos and more updates for you guys. But yeah, enjoy.